Hello, lovely people. I hope that you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024, and I can certainly share with you that I am so excited about 2024. I just have a really wonderful feeling about this year. And given that it's raining currently in England, in northern England where I am, I don't actually have any flowers available. Most of my flowers are currently in the ground, gathering up their energy, so that come spring, they'll burst forth and give us loads of color. But in the meantime, I thought I'd share with you one of my favorite bought flowers, which is the carnation. So we can get carnations really cheap here in England, but they last for ages in water. I can easily get 6 to 8 weeks worth of a fresh flower display in my house using the carnations. And this time I've got the white, the yellow, and the off red. So wherever you are in the world, I am sending you a bouquet of carnations. Right, so we've got Burda 2024 here, the first issue, and we've got the line drawing. So let's drive straight into it. There were a few things that I definitely absolutely loved about this. And apologies, I'm waiting on a new backdrop to come. My last backdrop has it's not usable anymore, unfortunately. So we just have plain carpet, but by February we will be sorted. So this was a very colorful issue off the bat. We've got this 1980s style skirt that sort of does the fitted from waist to hip, and then you've got a flare on there. I think that these work really well on the pear shape. To my understanding, I quite like this style, but it doesn't look as good on me because I don't have as wide a hip as what would be flattering for this style. But I liked the color. I thought it was beautiful and colorful. And then we had the long cocoon style jacket, because as you can see, it does sort of taper in ever so slightly. Very clean cuts with the snap fastening. It does create a very clean and classic minimalist vibe. So I think that the masculinity in this jacket is softened by that shawl collar and by the fact that you've got the snap fasteners. But it's been made in a lovely green color, which is quite unusual. And you know, I thought that those two were really quite good. And these ones, they will be repeats because we've seen jackets like this very recently. But I've noticed that Burda seems to be repeating patterns as a way of expanding their size range. So now this coat is going all the way up to a size 48. So hopefully once they've finished expanding their size ranges, maybe we can see things that can be a little bit more different, a little bit more unique. Moving on with the jackets, we have the denim jacket over here, but this time it's been made in a checkered fabric. I'm not a big fan of this. I think a classic denim jacket is just that classic. You don't need to mess about with it too much. And we have, I cannot for the life of me figure out or understand this. I'm curious to see if anybody is going to be making this, to see what it actually looks like on other people that are not working as models, because I do feel that the way that it's photographed here is in such a way that if a model type person is wearing it, it can look as if it's something that's haute couture. But to me, it seems to be a little bit too fussy, but we'll see what's made of it. And then we've got this foul wrap top, which has got a lot of creasing and ruching over there. So quite suitable for the romantics. I think they'd be able to wear this. Perhaps the classics might be able to get away with wearing this, but for me, there's too much fussiness around the neckline. And they've used sort of a really bright geometric print for it, which does hide the fussiness of the neckline. Okay, so this dress, I quite like this dress because to me it reminds me of a dress from Burda 9 2020 where they had a similar style faux wrap dress. So this style I quite like, although when I made it they had a yoke on here and with a faux pocket over here, but very similar lines, although not the cuff over here. And it's quite, I think that it is a lovely basic dress, particularly if made in a solid. And then we've got a simple a very simple top with some cuffs in very, very bright coloring over here. And I do think that I quite like the overall look of this particular styling here because it does have the skirt. There was a point in my, I think it was early 30s, that I went through this. I loved this style of skirt here, so I do love to see it. Don't quite like the buttons. I don't think that this button placement works very well. I would have loved to see the buttons just a little bit closer to the center seam. I feel like they're just a little bit too far away and they create a bit of a visual imbalance. And then we've got this top here with the bell sleeves. I'm not a big fan of it simply because you have the dolman style sleeve over here, and then you also have the bell sleeves. I think it would be very hard if you're layering this to try and put a layer over it without looking as if your hem is hiking up. So easy to sew up, but I don't think it would be very easy to wear in winter, particularly in the northern hemisphere where we're still experiencing cold weathers. However, in summer, I think it could work very well in a nice lightweight fabric. Moving along, we've got the sequined jacket. Very, very classy. What is unusual about this jacket, which I didn't notice on the first round, was that it's actually got inseam pockets. And I thought that is quite strange. I've never seen that in a jacket like this before, a shawl collar jacket, a formal looking jacket. But it's been made in sequins and it's one of the designer patterns. I've done my fair share of sewing with sequins and I'm done. I won't, if I ever feel the urge for wearing something with sequins in it, I will buy it rather than subject my overlocker and my sewing machines to bits of sequins getting into the working bits. So yeah. And then top number 126, I thought is quite an interesting top, particularly because I think it would be suitable more for spring or summer. So late spring or early summer, because it is sleeveless and it does have this grown on neckline with a bit of a cowl feature here. Yeah. And then some wide leg trousers with a very narrow waistline. Lovely. And I thought that this ensemble worked really well, and I loved the little detail where the bow is in a silver, picking up on the silver of the bag. I thought that was excellent styling and definitely an idea to try at some point. And we have a so-called bolero. I always thought that boleros were supposed to be closer fitting, but this one is obviously really quite big, and it's making more of a statement based on the fuchsia magenta taffeta fabric that they've used for it. So very structured, very big, very bold, very, very dramatic, which if that's what you're looking for a Christmas party or a New Year's Eve party, then yeah, that could work. And again, this one goes up to a size 48. And then we have a wrap skirt. And so this one, I really like this one. So I've got the wrong line drawing here. Okay, here we go. Correct line drawing identified. So this is version 1 of 2 of this skirt. So it's a wrap dress style. Wrap skirt style. And it's got some hardware on the waist here. Personally, I'm not a big fan of integrating hardware into a skirt because I think you kind of reduce its versatility. Because if you wanted to change it up by wearing, say, a brown belt to match with maybe some brown shoes, you're limited because you've put hardware on it. So it does look lovely like this with this lovely little circle diamante bit, but you do reduce its versatility. So personally, I would say skip the hardware. Just make it as normal, but then you can play around with having different belts and creating different looks for it. So here they've made it very celebration, very glamour-esque because they've used a taffeta, so it adds that glamour to it. But it's version 2 that I particularly liked, and we'll get to that shortly. Okay, and then we have tunic top number 118, which I think is a really, really lovely top. I have made something very similar from the March 2020 issue, and I made it as a dress in a lovely cotton lawn, and it is fabulous. But for me, this style works in spring and summer in lovely lightweight fabrics, and it would be so fabulous in a cotton voile. And this sort of style with the raglan sleeve and the gathering around the neckline, tapered at the neckline and the cuffs, it does suit the soft gamine, particularly if you're wearing it tucked in or belted up. And you know, I do quite like it. I do think that it is quite a lovely top, and you can see it does look really lovely and elegant on. And then we have that top again that has got the continued combined sleeve bodice. So it's got a lowered armhole and the bell sleeves. I said I don't think it works in a season where you have to be layering it, because it would work with a cape. I think somebody once commented that the problem with Dolman sleeves or Batman sleeves, you can deal with them by wearing a cape instead of a normal coat. Okay, and then we've got another really lovely wrap style, faux wrap style dress. In this case, the faux wrap is sort of at the top here where you have the cover. You don't quite have a center seam, a center front seam per se, but they sort of look like they're overlapping each other, with a neat little mandarin collar over there. Really quite lovely. When I make it, I would probably skip the double, the waistband belt detail here. I'll just have a waist seam and then make a facing belt if necessary. But I thought that was lovely, and the colors were really, really beautiful. And then we have some tapered trousers here, which are a lovely silhouette for the soft gamine as well as for the classic, and they could even work quite well for the dramatic. And you could add in a bit of detail here with the contrast stitching. I would avoid with trousers. I found that it doesn't work very well to do contrasting fabrics, because you sort of eat up your legs, you know. So if you were to do this in a darker color, it doesn't balance quite well. But with top stitching, you can really play around with the detail, and it is a lovely outfit. I thought that this issue had a lot of great styling ideas. Okay, and then we've got a dress, which is the lengthened version of that top that's got the ruching over there. And I do think that as a dress, it does work really well, particularly in a darker color, a more luscious fabric like this velvety velour fabric that they have used. Whereas before they used a more satiny, but with very light contrast fabrics. To me, it didn't make as much of a statement, but here it speaks of luxury, you know, that luxe look. So I think that it works well in the velvet more so than in a lighter weight jersey knit. Okay, and we have a simple top, dress style top with some inseam pockets, minimal bust shaping, and then you have the V neckline. It's a pullover style dress with some sleeves that have loads and loads of volume, which has been put to great effect in this outfit with all of the silver. So just really, really giving it a lot of glam, which would be ideal for New Year's parties. And then we have a fur coat, so very simple in design, and would make a great separate addition to a capsule wardrobe. It's got inseam pockets over here, and it doesn't have any buttons or fastenings. It's just basically as if it's a cardigan. I mean, I'd add some fastenings because it's nice to be able to button up when there's a bit of a cold wind that's coming towards you. Okay, and then we've got that top again, and you can see how much better it works in a more velvety, slightly thicker fabric, because and a high contrast fabric as well, because this one's sort of a black and white dappled. But I think that it adds more to the glam to the ruching over here than when you go with the light contrast fabric. We have the skirt again from the beginning, but this time it's been made in a more structured fabric, which I don't think is working quite well with the gathering. It looks like they might have cut this section on the cross grain, and they tried to gather it along the straight, or along the cross grain. I don't know, something is just a little bit off with the gathering on this one. Or maybe it's the metallic fabrics. Maybe I'm just not gelling with the metallic fabric that they chose. And then we have a fabulous gown here, clearly for New Year's Eve. I I mean, I don't know. I tend not to go out for New Year's Eve, but for those that do go out, this might be something. And it does have detachable straps. So the straps are completely detachable. So if you wanted to go with a strapless look. So really fabulous. I mean, it has been made for in black to make it into a ball gown, more evening-y type thingy. But you could easily make this into something that you can wear during the day. And the vent is nice and long, which makes room for dancing, basically, because you want to be able to dance in a fabulous dress like that. Okay, then the sewing lesson is the pink dress, and then we've got some really, this section is my favorite section. I really love this section. I just thought that everything was so cohesive with it, and they used a model who's just so happy and has such an infectious smile. It really got me excited. And in fact, two of the things that I thought nailed it for me were in this section. So first off, we've got that really lovely plain sort of top, but it's been made into a dress. Now it's been lengthened into a dress. And as you can see, when it's belted up here and it's in a lovely fabric, it does work really nicely. And then we've got a very simple top, quite blousy, made in a lovely luxurious fabric. They've made it in a viscose, but you could make this in a silk and it would be lovely as well. And then you've got this tie pull string, drawstring thing going on here. I mean, I would skip this and just tuck the blouse in rather than have some little danglies over here. But the fabric is really lovely and the execution of it is really lovely. And as I said, look at how happy she is. It's just so wonderful. It's just such an energizing photo shoot, I think, because I don't like it when they do the models that are always looking so sad or so snooty or so, like, oh, but this is just so lovely and uplifting. Okay, so for me, this is the skirt. So this is version 2 of the skirt, because remember, there's 2 versions of this, but this one's been lengthened and it's got these ornamental pocket flaps, which is a little bit disappointing that the pockets aren't actually functional. But I do want to make this one. So this is my definite to make, and I want to make it in a dark wool fabric, just so that I've got something to add to my winter wardrobe. I've currently just been wearing a lot of sweater dresses, and I'm really just wanting to wear a skirt, and I think that this could work for it, but I'll discuss this later. So I was very happy with this, and I quite liked the styling. Though these aren't my colors, I could appreciate how beautiful the styling was. And then we've got the cape, which is basically a blanket whilst you're out, and that would be so appropriate for me. I would love that. It's very practical. Okay, and then we've got a tunic dress over here. So extra long, simple top. Personally, for me, this is a perfect t-shirt if you cut it to the right length. I'm not sure this particular styling is not one of my favorites, because I'm not getting the dress over a dress thing. Doesn't quite work. But t-shirt is got the right DNA for a t-shirt. Handkerchief hem top with a little tie detail over there. And again, this is another repeat that's being brought up to a size 48. And then we have this jacket. We saw this. This was the first one that we saw in the emerald green, but it was longer. But this time it's been cropped to just below hip length. And it's got some hardware where you can strap the hem in. Really lovely, interesting fabric. Really lovely, interesting fabric. And those trousers again that are tapered, but this time they've been made in a faux imitation leather, and I think that works quite well here. And as you can see, both of these are repeats that have been brought up to the size 48. Okay, and this is the second item that I really quite liked. It's the turtleneck top. Of course, I'm gonna love a turtleneck top. It's really nice and snug, this one. So I did trace out the turtle. There was a similar top from the December issue, which I did trace out, but it wasn't quite as snug fitting as this. It was more of a sweater, loose fit that happen to have a roll neck, whereas this one is a more form-fitting roll neck top, and it's easy. So these are the two things for me that hit the nail, is this skirt and that. And coincidentally, they happen to be able to go together. I think that they would look really well together. But I have to get the fabrics to do that. And it is the featured sewing lesson, which is what I looked at to find out if the pockets were functional. But I'm working on an idea of how to make the pockets functional. And so that's what we have here. A really good selection of separates. I think that there's some very classic styles, and I think it's a really good start to the year with Burda. I will do another video where I'll go into more detail about my plans for this and how I'm going to be adding pockets to the skirt. So I hope I'll see you in that video. And if you've watched until the end, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. If you haven't already, do subscribe and hit the like button. It's an easy way to just support the channel. And I would be most grateful if you did that. So until I see you next time, lovely people, happy sewing. Bye.